This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have the chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. Pause. At the end, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1. You will hear a phone call between a woman and an officer. First, you have some time to read questions 1 to 6. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good afternoon. Lost Property Office. Central Station. Ray speaking with Alan. How can I help?
Hello, my name is Helen Carter, and I believe I left my briefcase at your station earlier today. Yes, it was today, around 9:15 a.m. I took the 8:45 train from Milton and arrived at Central just after 9.
All right. Do you remember where in the station you last saw your briefcase?
I'm pretty sure I left it near the coffee kiosk in the main waiting area. I had set it down next to my seat while I was on a call and must have walked off without it.
That happens more often than you'd think. Now, could you describe the briefcase, please?
Certainly. It's a black leather briefcase with silver zippers. It has 2 main compartments and a smaller outer pocket, with a red tag on the handle.
Got it. Any branding or logo on the outside?
No obvious branding, but it's got my initials, HC, engraved subtly on the back.
And what was inside the briefcase?
Mostly work documents, a blue notebook, and my company's tablet. There's also a small pencil case, some business cards, and a set of house keys.
I see. Just to clarify, were there any valuables or cash inside?
No cash, but the tablet is quite expensive. It's a company-issued device, so I'd really like to get it back.
Understood. Do you know the make or model of the tablet?
Yes, it's a Samsung Galaxy Tab S7, dark gray.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Thank you. That helps a lot. We actually had a black briefcase handed in just after 9:30 this morning by a cleaner. It was found beside a bench near the coffee stall. From your description, it sounds like it might be yours.
That's promising. Did the person leave any contact details?
No, but they reported it to staff right away. I've just opened the case now. It does have a blue notebook and a Samsung tablet inside. There is also a bunch of business cards for Carter Design Solutions. Does that sound right?
Yes. That's definitely mine. I'm so relieved.
Great. ILL mark it as claimed. Then, you'll need to come by to collect it in person. Our lost property office is open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're closed on Sundays.
Can I pick it up this afternoon?
Certainly. Just make sure you bring a valid photo ID with you, like a driver's license or passport.
No problem. I'll bring my driver's license. By the way, do you charge any kind of fee?
There is a 5 handling fee for valuable items like electronics, just to cover storage and administrative costs.
That's fine. And do I need to sign anything?
Yes. We'll ask you to fill out a short claim form when you arrive. It just confirms your identity and item details.
Got it. I'll be there by 4 p.m. today. Thanks so much, Alan.
You're welcome. Ms. Carter. See you soon.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 2. You will hear a manager briefing a group of volunteers about the history of the Greenwood Wildlife Sanctuary and their roles. First, you have some time to read questions 11 to 15. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brook Hill Outdoor Activity Center. My name is Leanne Carter, and I'll be your coordinator for this weekend's program. Whether you're here for adventure, relaxation, or team building, we hope it's a memorable experience. Brook Hill was founded in 1993 by a group of educators who wanted to give students and community members access to outdoor skills training and nature-based experiences. What began as a summer-only initiative in a rented barn has now become a year-round center with permanent facilities. We currently offer a wide range of activities like archery, rock climbing, mountain biking, and canoeing. The entire center spans about 15 acres and includes 3 key zones. First, we have the base camp, which includes the reception, cafeteria, medical room, and dormitories. This is where you'll return each night, and where meals are served 3 times a day. The second zone is the training grounds, where we run our ropes courses and safety drills. And the third is the Wilderness Trail Network, which stretches through forest and hilly terrain, and is used for orienteering and hiking sessions. For communication, we use two-way radios rather than mobile phones, as signal strength is often poor in the area. Radios must be signed out from the gear tent by your group leader, and their range is roughly 2 kilometers, so always stay within reach of your group. Finally, we ask that all participants help with cleanup and basic duties, like gathering firewood or cleaning gear. This not only teaches responsibility, but also helps the center operate smoothly for everyone. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, I'll tell you about the feedback we received last season and the changes we've made based on it. Now, your safety briefing is scheduled for 10 a.m. tomorrow in the Central Lodge, which is a log cabin building near the campfire circle. It's extremely important that everyone attends, as we'll be going over emergency signals, basic first aid, and radio use. Clothing and gear should be appropriate for the weather and activity. You'll each be given a waterproof kit bag containing essentials like a torch, poncho, and map. Please return these at the end of the program.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 16 to 20. Now, listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Thanks for sticking with me. Now, let me go over some improvements we've made at Brook Hill following feedback from past visitors. The most frequent complaint was about the cafeteria food. People felt the menu lacked variety, especially for vegetarians. In response, we've brought in a new catering team and we've added more plant-based and gluten-free options. Weekly menus are posted at reception and in the dorm corridors. Next was the archery range, which had received mixed reviews. Some participants found the equipment outdated and the setup confusing. We've now upgraded the bows, added clearer signage, and built a new covered shelter so sessions can run even if it rains. Another issue was navigation on the trail network. The older maps were hard to read and several directional posts had faded. We've replaced those signs with color-coded metal markers and introduced laminated trail guides, which are waterproof and easier to follow. These can be collected from the gear tent before setting off. The bicycle hire system also needed improvement. Visitors mentioned difficulty in finding the right sizes and adjusting the seats. We've labeled each bike by size and added a quick adjust mechanism. Instructors will be present at the start of each session to ensure a proper fit. Lastly, we heard from several school groups that the evening activities didn't suit younger participants. Activities like night orienteering were a bit too intense for some of the younger children. So, we've introduced a gentler alternative called Twilight Campfire, which includes storytelling, hot cocoa, and acoustic music. We're always looking for ways to improve. Your feedback matters, so don't hesitate to fill out the anonymous suggestion form available in the main office. That's everything from me. Now, please gather at the gear tent for your group assignments and collect your welcome packs. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow for the first challenge.
That is the end of part 2. You have half a minute to check your answers. Part 3. A student discussing a stage production report with a drama professor. First, you now have some time to read questions 21 to 25. Now, listen and answer questions 21 to 25.
Good afternoon, Maya. I've just finished reading your first draft of the production report. It's quite an ambitious project you've taken on.
Hi, Professor Carter. Yes, I wanted to challenge myself this term. I really enjoyed working on the stage adaptation of The Glass Menagerie. But there's a lot more to writing the report than I expected.
That's true. A production report should cover both the creative process and your critical analysis. Let's start with your general approach. Why did you choose this particular play?
Well, it's such a powerful piece about memory and fragility. I thought it would be interesting to reinterpret it in a modern context. We kept a core story but set it in a 2020s urban environment instead of the 1930s American South.
That's a bold move. It can work if done carefully. Did you consider how those changes might affect the play's emotional tone?
I did. For example, instead of a phonograph, we used a smartphone with old voice recordings, and instead of the fire escape, we used a rooftop balcony. We tried to preserve the original themes, just in a different visual language.
Excellent. So you're aiming for what we call a conceptual reinterpretation. That should be made clearer in your introduction. Right now, it reads more like a plot summary.
I see. I'll rework that. I think I was trying to show that I understood the source material, but I didn't quite explain my own vision clearly.
Exactly. You've got strong content, but your rationale for those choices should be front and center. Now, how did the rehearsal process go?
It was challenging at first. My actors had difficulty connecting with the modernized lines. Some felt the dialogue was too stylized. We did a few improvisation sessions to help them find the rhythm in a more natural tone.
That was smart. And did you keep the original structure of the play?
Yes, mostly we kept Tom as the narrator, but we experimented with breaking the fourth wall even more. He would sometimes speak directly to specific audience members. It made the audience slightly uncomfortable, but I think that was the point.
Professor Carter, interesting technique. Did it work during the performance?
Surprisingly, yes, we got positive feedback on that element. People said it made them feel like they were inside Tom's memory, not just watching it.
Great. Now, let's talk about technical design. Your report mentioned lighting, but it was quite brief. Could you expand on that?
Definitely, we used blue lighting for memory scenes and harsh white for the present moments. The contrast really helped to delineate time shifts. I'll include photos in the appendix.
Please do. And don't forget to analyze those design choices, not just describe them. Explain how they supported your vision.
Got it. Also, I'm working on the section about audience reception. I distributed feedback forms and got about 60 responses.
Excellent. Did you identify any common themes?
Yes, many praised the intimacy of the performance space and the minimalist set. A few didn't like the updated props. They felt it clashed with the poetic language. But overall, most found the emotional core intact.
That's important. Mixed feedback can still support your analysis if you interpret it properly. Are you planning to include a critical reflection section?
Yes, I'm writing that now. I'll reflect on what I'd change next time and what I learned about directing.
Good. And make sure to include citations for any directorial influences. You mentioned you were inspired by Ivo van Hove.
Yes, especially his minimalist approach. I watched his production of A View from the Bridge, and it really shaped my thinking.
Great reference. Include it in your bibliography, and explain how it informed your process.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Have you started planning the oral presentation yet?
A little. I know we only have 8 minutes, so I'm trying to focus on the most impactful parts of the process.
That's wise. Don't attempt to cover everything. Choose 1 or 2 key challenges or creative decisions to highlight.
I was thinking of talking about the decision to modernize the setting, and how that affected the acting and design choices.
Good focus. And are you planning to use any visual aids?
Yes, a slideshow with a few production stills and maybe a brief video clip of the rooftop scene.
That will help your audience visualize what you're describing. Be sure to test the video beforehand. It can eat up time if there are technical issues.
Definitely, I'll keep it under a minute. I also want to include a brief reference to Van Hove, just to show where my ideas originated.
That's fine, but don't let it become a lecture on his work. Keep the focus on what you actually did.
Right, and we're being assessed on clarity, structure, and reflection, right?
Exactly. They'll be looking for how well you communicate your creative journey and what you learned from it. One last thing, submit your slides to the portal by Friday 5 p.m. for tech checks.
Thanks, I'll make sure to do that.
You're doing a great job, Maya. I'm looking forward to your final submission and the presentation.
Thanks, Professor. This has been such a meaningful project for me.
That is the end of part 3. Now you have 30 seconds to check your answers. Part 4. You will hear a seminar about the history of human settlements. First, you have some time to read questions 31 to 40. Now, listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Cities, as dynamic centers of population, commerce, and culture, have always required reliable ways for people to move around. In today's lecture, we'll be looking at the evolution of public transportation systems, particularly within cities, and how these systems have responded to shifting population patterns, environmental concerns, and advances in technology. Let's start by going back in time. In the 19th century, as industrialization gathered pace, cities across Europe and North America saw dramatic increases in population. Streets were crowded with horse-drawn carriages, private carts, and pedestrians. The earliest forms of urban public transport involved horse-drawn omnibuses, which were essentially large carriages capable of seating multiple passengers. These were more affordable than private carriages, but they had limitations in terms of speed and comfort. A major breakthrough came with the introduction of rail-based systems, particularly the horse-drawn tram, which ran along tracks laid in city streets. These vehicles provided a smoother ride and could carry more people. In the 1860s, cable cars emerged, particularly in cities like San Francisco, where steep terrain made horse-drawn travel inefficient. A continuously moving cable, powered by a central engine, pulled the tram along. This development laid the groundwork for electrified systems. By the late 19th century, the development of electric traction motors made electric trams a viable alternative. These trams, powered by overhead wires, quickly replaced both horse-drawn and cable systems. Not only were they faster and quieter, but they were also far more efficient. Electric trams soon became a symbol of modern cities. Around the same time, the Underground Railway was born. The first of its kind was London's Metropolitan Railway, which opened in 1863 and initially used steam locomotives. These generated smoke and were far from ideal in enclosed tunnels, but they were revolutionary. Electrification of underground rail systems solved this problem, making them cleaner and more efficient. Moving into the 20th century, buses began to play a more prominent role in urban transport. Powered initially by petrol and later diesel engines, buses offered a more flexible form of transit since they were not tied to tracks or cables. Cities that lacked the resources to build extensive tram networks often turned to buses instead. However, concerns about air pollution and fuel costs eventually led to a renewed interest in electric alternatives. This brings us to the trolleybus, an electric bus powered by overhead wires. While they still required infrastructure, they combined the flexibility of buses with the clean energy of electric trams. Trolleybuses were especially popular in Eastern Europe and parts of Asia during the mid-20th century. The post-war years saw increasing car ownership and suburban expansion, which brought new challenges for public transit authorities. Urban sprawl meant longer commuting distances, and many cities began to suffer from traffic congestion, a problem that persists today. In response, several cities began developing mass rapid transit systems, fully separated rail networks with high-capacity trains running on fixed schedules. Examples include the Paris Metro, the New York City subway, and Tokyo's extensive rail network. From the late 20th century onwards, there has been a growing push towards sustainable transport solutions. Rising awareness of environmental issues and concerns about carbon emissions have spurred a shift away from fossil fuel-based transport. Today, we see a global trend towards the adoption of low-emission buses, including electric and hydrogen-powered vehicles. These buses produce zero tailpipe emissions and are being adopted in urban centers from Oslo to Shenzhen. Another important development is the integration of transport modes. Many modern cities now use unified ticketing systems that allow passengers to switch between buses, trains, trams, and even bicycles with a single pass. This not only improves convenience for users, but also promotes the use of public transport by making it more efficient. Technology has further transformed how urban transit is managed. The use of GPS tracking, real-time scheduling apps, and contactless payment systems has improved both reliability and user experience. Transit agencies can now track fleet performance, adjust routes dynamically, and provide passengers with accurate arrival times on their smartphones. Modern urban design is also increasingly focused on transit-oriented development, which involves building neighborhoods around public transport hubs. This approach encourages walking and cycling and reduces dependence on private cars. It also supports the creation of compact, livable communities with easy access to amenities. Some cities have introduced light rail systems, which combine the features of trams and rapid transit. These are generally quieter, cheaper to build than subways, and can be integrated into existing road networks with minimal disruption. Cities like Portland, Strasbourg, and Sydney have implemented light rail lines with significant success. Finally, there is growing interest in autonomous public transport, including driverless shuttles and trains. These are currently in the testing phase in many locations. While challenges related to safety and regulation remain, proponents argue that automation could lead to greater efficiency, reduced labor costs, and 24-hour service. As urban populations continue to grow, cities are under increasing pressure to create public transportation networks that are inclusive, accessible, and sustainable. The future will likely include a combination of traditional modes and cutting-edge technologies, all designed to reduce congestion, improve air quality, and support economic development.
That is the end of part 4. You have now 30 seconds to check your answers. You have now 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.